Few aircraft in history symbolize American air power as strongly as the Boeing B-52 Stratofortress. For over 7 decades, this massive long-range bomber has stood as both a deterrent and a weapon of war, flying across continents, delivering devastating payloads and evolving with each new era of conflict. The story of the B-52 is one of rapid innovation, unmatched endurance, and the remarkable ability of a single design to remain relevant long after its contemporaries faded into museums. The B-52's story begins in the early years of the Cold War. In 1946, the U.S. Army Air Forces sought a strategic bomber that could fly intercontinental missions, carry nuclear weapons, and deter a growing Soviet threat. Boeing engineers went through several design iterations, beginning with propeller-driven concepts before ultimately turning to the revolutionary jet age. By 1948, the design team, led by Ed Wells and George Scherer, had settled on the 8-engine swept-wing layout we know today. The prototype, designated the YB-52, first flew in April 1952. Within just 3 years, the B-52A entered service. It was quickly followed by a series of improved models, B through H, each refining engines, avionics, and payload systems. The final version, the B-52H, was introduced in 1961 and remains the backbone of America's strategic bomber fleet. The B-52 is a giant of the skies. With a wingspan of 185 feet and a length of 159 feet, the aircraft towers over most others on the flight line. Its 8 Pratt & Whitney turbofan engines allow it to cruise at around 650 miles per hour, just below the speed of sound. But what truly sets the B-52 apart is its endurance. It has an unrefueled combat range of about 8,800 miles, and with aerial refueling, its reach becomes virtually global. Payload is another hallmark. The Stratofortress can carry up to 70,000 pounds of bombs, missiles, and mines, conventional or nuclear. To put that in perspective, the legendary B-17 Flying Fortress of World War II carried a maximum load of 8,000 pounds, and the larger B-29 Superfortress could carry around 20,000 pounds. The B-52 can carry more than 3 times the load of a B-29 and nearly 9 times that of a B-17, giving it a destructive capacity unheard of in previous generations of bombers. Over the decades, its weapons bays and pylons have been modified to integrate precision-guided munitions, cruise missiles, and even hypersonic weapons in development today. Though designed in the era of nuclear standoffs, the B-52's flexibility has kept it relevant across generations of warfare. During the 1950s and 60s, the B-52 became a cornerstone of America's nuclear deterrent. At the height of the Cold War, bombers were kept on continuous airborne alert under the program known as Operation Chrome Dome. Armed with nuclear weapons, they circled near Soviet airspace around the clock, prepared to strike if the order ever came. The B-52's combat debut came in Southeast Asia. Beginning in 1965, the Stratofortress was used in Arc Light missions, massive bombing raids targeting Viet Cong base areas in South Vietnam. These raids demonstrated the bomber's ability to drop tons of ordnance with devastating effect. But it was during the later stages of the Vietnam War that the B-52 cemented its reputation. In December 1972, during Operation Linebacker II, often called the Christmas bombing, waves of B-52s launched one of the most intense aerial bombardments in history. For 11 days, B-52s struck Hanoi, Haiphong, and other critical targets with relentless force. At the height of the campaign, more than 200 B-52s flew in coordinated waves, dropping thousands of tons of bombs. The sheer scale of destruction crippled North Vietnam's infrastructure, decimated supply lines, and shook the confidence of its leadership. Though costly, 33 B-52s were lost. The campaign forced North Vietnam back to the negotiating table, leading to the Paris Peace Accords. For many historians, Linebacker II nearly broke the North Vietnamese war effort, demonstrating the terrifying power of mass strategic bombing in the jet age. Even after Vietnam, the B-52 refused to fade away. Through the 1980s, it was adapted to carry nuclear-armed cruise missiles, extending its strike capability far beyond its already impressive range. This adaptation reinforced its place in the nuclear triad, alongside land-based missiles and ballistic missile submarines. The aircraft also became a platform for maritime strike, capable of deploying anti-ship missiles and mines. In NATO exercises, the B-52 showed its versatility by simulating attacks across Europe and the North Atlantic, reminding adversaries of its global reach. When Iraq invaded Kuwait in 1990, the B-52 once again proved its worth. During Operation Desert Storm, B-52s flew some of the longest combat missions in history, launching from the United States, striking targets in the Middle East, and returning without landing. The bombers dropped nearly 40% of all the munitions used by coalition forces during the war. Their presence shattered enemy morale and disrupted command structures across the battlefield. In the decades that followed, B-52s continued to serve in conflicts across the globe. From Kosovo to Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria, the bomber has delivered precision strikes, close air support, and show-of-force missions. The adaptability of its weapon systems allowed it to carry both unguided dumb bombs and cutting-edge precision munitions, ensuring relevance in both high-intensity wars and counterinsurgency campaigns. One of the most remarkable aspects of the B-52 is its longevity. First introduced when Dwight Eisenhower was president, the bomber is now slated to serve into the 2050s, and perhaps beyond. To achieve this, the U.S. Air Force has invested heavily in modernization programs. The fleet is undergoing a major engine replacement, swapping out its aging turbofans for modern, fuel-efficient power plants that will extend range and reduce maintenance. Its avionics and radar systems are being upgraded to meet modern battlefield demands, and it continues to be integrated with the latest cruise missiles, smart bombs, and potentially even hypersonic weapons. By the time these upgrades are complete, the B-52H will be redesignated the B-52J. Astonishingly, many of the pilots flying it will be younger than the aircraft they command. The B-52 is more than just a bomber. It has become a cultural and military icon. Crews affectionately call it the Buff, short for big, ugly, fat fellow, though its ungainly appearance belies its effectiveness. Its deep, thunderous roar and unmistakable silhouette are symbols of American military might. Perhaps the greatest testament to the B-52's legacy is its longevity. No other bomber in history has served so long, nor has any managed to remain as relevant. It has outlived every aircraft designed to replace it, including the B-58 Hustler and the B-70 Valkyrie, and it continues to fly alongside more modern stealth bombers like the B-2 Spirit and the upcoming B-21 Raider. For adversaries, the B-52 represents the ever-present reach of U.S. power. For allies, it stands as a reassuring presence in times of crisis. And for historians, it is a marvel of design and adaptability. An aircraft conceived with slide rules and drafting tables that still dominates battlefields in the digital age. From its Cold War origins to its 21st century missions, the Boeing B-52 Stratofortress is a story of endurance, adaptability, and power. It has dropped more bombs, flown more miles, and remained in service longer than any other bomber in history. And with ongoing upgrades, it will likely remain in the skies for another generation. The B-52 is not just a machine of war, it is a living piece of history, bridging the earliest days of the jet age with the battlefields of tomorrow. 70 years on, the Buff still flies, and it shows no signs of retiring anytime soon.